Evening, this is Ronald Allen, managing change through effective communications. Tonight's discussion, where is the spark? Where is your spark? Now, when I talk about the spark, it's not oh my goodness, I just found it, let me get on with my life. More importantly, it's all the things that led up to your actually losing enthusiasm, interest, or passion for something that you've done. Many very functional people are doing things by route, or route as some people pronounce it, right? They're on automatic. You're on autopilot, if you will. But when we talk about the spark, we're talking about the stuff that requires no alarm clock to get up to. It doesn't require reminders. It allows you to push through both pain and frustration in the physical things that you're engaged in. And most importantly, it drives you to identify people that are out there in the community that are doing similar things and having somewhat similar frustrations. So I've done my notes today, and as much as it's kind of late in the evening, I said, no, I'm going to every Tuesday and Thursday, typically at 6, I think it's around about 9 o'clock now, at least Eastern time, have a little discussion on various topics. So tonight's topic is finding your spark. Now that spark could come from a hobby. It could be coming from discovering a relative, a friend, an acquaintance. It could also be understanding that you helped somebody else. And the spark itself triggers almost like what do you call those? Like a tsunami effect, right? It starts a whole set of processes. Maybe it gets you refocused. So let's kind of take a few pointers here, and I'm going to walk through this. And I have a friend with me tonight. I know you're going to find this strange, but you know what? Having a spark means being human. This is Tatonka. Tatonka is an old friend of ours. I say ours because my wife and I are serious animal lovers. And we've had everything from a teacup poodle to, I'm not sure which is the biggest, a Great Dane, a Mastiff, and certainly T-Bird right now, a huge 150-pound pit bull. The biggest bear you could ever imagine. And I just wanted to kind of throw this in as a sidebar because we are talking about the spark. The things that make you human. The things that you come home and you know what? You just want to cuddle up to a good movie. Maybe you have a great book. Take your choice. Maybe the subjects are very diverse. We have very diverse reading here, from zoology, English literature, American history up on the top, some autobiographies, and in fact, of course, comics. Absolutely essential for any complete library. Some auto books, automotive books, and of course business. Yeah, you gotta throw that in. We even have LPs and 86s. I know a lot of you don't know what on earth is an 86. It is a thicker vinyl than the traditional vinyl, as it's referred to, being a 45, which is the short, usually 2 to 3 minutes, or an LP, long playing record. Usually has two sides like a cassette, but it's a thicker vinyl, may have up to 12, 13 songs on it. So this is kind of my spark initiator, right? My library. Many of you know that I go out to White Box Blueberry Farm, which is my think tank. You notice how I'm building resources, building community, building an environment that no matter what I experience on the outside when I engage with the world, when I come into my private space, it's mine. That's my spark. That is how I rejuvenate, rekindle my own spark. So, oh, by the way, I didn't tell you his name, did I? His name is Tatonka. Yes, Tatonka. And many people thought it was a Bouvier de Flanders, a French, almost like a poodle. But the shape of the dog and its stance looked like a bear. And when we first came to this house about 15 years ago, and we used to walk him in the woods and walking around. Unfortunately, he's since died and passed on. People thought we actually had a bear. And we actually got a wild animal. Police one day came to our house and said, "We understand you have an illegal bear." And we said, "As in a six-pack?" you know, as in, some crazy animal? Well, that's why this guy reminds us of Tatanka. And we do have pictures, but that's downstairs in the dog room. So I wanted to start off tonight's discussion because, a lot of times when we discuss business, we discuss life and trying to manage life, it's always like, oh my goodness, we have this major problem and we need to address it. We're trying to find solutions. We're trying to be resourceful, blah, blah, blah. But let's take a different view. Let's kind of, as they say, turn 180 and see how we can address some of these life needs, life passions in a different format. So that's how we started off, isn't it? I purposely gave you a totally different spin. So one question I would ask you is, where do you create your community? How are you supporting that spark? Because when you have a hobby, a passion, an interest, it still has to be fed, like a muscle, like your mind, like anything else. It must be fed. And so mine is certainly my library, certainly the quietness of my home. When I come home, I don't want a lot of noise and drama, okay? The 1.7 mile walk in the woods. I have White Bog's Blueberry Farm, a preserve, which is literally 5 minutes away from the house. Didn't know it was there when we first came. In fact, we thought it was one of those private preserves for the cranberry and blueberry fields, which we have here in Burlington County, New Jersey. And then, of course, you have to get to work at this, right? You have to daily feed and nourish and cultivate both the environment, your mind, and most importantly, you must take action, even if it is 2 or 3 hours later than you anticipated, even if it is a shorter time frame, cramming time frames, right? Don't just spend 2 or 3 hours. Spend the 15 minutes. Do it once, twice a day. Do it 3, 4, 5 times a week. Because it's the repetitiveness that tells you I can better manage my need, my desire, my spark. And so I'm getting further down the road and I'm beginning to build that character, that sustainability. We talk about that in business, in urban development, in economic development. Sustainable. How do you sustain a business? Well, your interest, your personal interest, is it not as equal, if not more so, than a non-entity, which is a business? I certainly hope it is. Patterns and habits. A pattern is something that you may draft out that you wish to execute on. And then the habit is at 5:15 every morning, I get up and I first of all don't look at my cell phone. Rather, I read something that I am trying to acquire knowledge on. And I try to read both sides, if not the third side, of any argument. You know that there's a philosophy that talks about when you have a dilemma that you're trying to address, and you may have a board of people, even if it's in your mind, different dimension, right? If I have autobiographies of people up here, would it not serve me well to use their perspective when I'm facing an issue and I've read about their lives and how they address some of the pleasant and unpleasant situations they experienced? Wouldn't it serve me to use that perspective when making a decision? A little different. Not necessarily people who are alive, not necessarily people that I've even met. Yet the access we have with social media, obviously print material, is such that I can at least extrapolate some of their thinking and then put that thought process into my decision making when I'm faced with a difficult situation. Whether it's right or wrong, whether it's the percentage outcome that I'm looking for, that still remains. On the other hand, the ability to think through, make a decision, act upon that decision, see its impact, get that feedback from life, the litmus test, and then say, okay, we need to adjust. That keeps the spark. That keeps the engine running. That keeps the high performance in you possible. That in and of itself is really a lifetime achievement, because so many of us run out of steam. We've forgotten to add enough coal, right? That truck behind us is our coal, and we haven't got enough coal, so we run out of energy. We think, oh well, it's not going to happen now. Well, I might as well give up. Well, no one in my family has ever done it. No, absolutely not. Learn from that lack of resourcefulness. Learn from that inability to see past the brick wall, the stone wall, right? The depth of the ocean. You know that we have only, I believe, even today with Jacques Cousteau's incredible advances in deep oceanic marine biology, only scratched the surface. Very much like the stars. We've only scratched the scratch. So what does that mean? It means that the spark that we have when we're creating this habit, these patterns, how do we push the boundaries? Some people will say, well, we can only go so far. Yes, based on our ability to think. Yes, based on the current level of knowledge. Yes, based on the current level of science, biology, botany, any of those particular subjects, even math, right? We've focused so much on math now because we're doing analytics, we're doing algorithms, yet the depth of our minds can take us in a totally different direction. Does the data we receive, here's a question, does the data we receive from 1 million people tell us absolutely that people will behave in a particular way? Now, right now, we would say yes, because we've broken into this metrics and analytics and algorithms for the first time, even since it's a good 30, 40 years, by the way, guys. It's not totally new. Its application is becoming more and more applied, understood, and the capability to use it. At the same time, when that next population, that age group and culture kicks in, will the analytics be as accurate? Will they follow the same behavioral, can I use the word pathology? That's something different. So as much as we are now pushed in, certainly people of my age and a little younger, have been pushed into this environment of algorithms, and the younger generation are more accustomed to it, then I propose this question. Would people of 20-year-old, 10-year-old, 5-year-old see it the same way? I don't think so. I think they will push new ground. They'll expose new ground. So the spark that I have needs to attach itself to that way of thinking. Can you do that? Or are you limited by the way that you've been exposed and introduced to life? You see, one question I've always had with my parents was, are we stuck in a time zone, almost like the Twilight Zone, right? This is our zone, and we can't see before it, and we can't seem to think behind it. Well, if we can say so for a moment and appreciate that our base of knowledge is predicated on all the people and all the research and all the activity that other people have done, then it's limitless, because we can take our baseline and stretch it out further, just like our children, just like the new math in this contract I have with this school. I have no idea about this new math, so I sit down with the kids and I have them teach me along with the instructors. And it's given them a dynamic of, wait a minute, it's not that he doesn't know, It's that he hasn't been introduced to this information in this manner. So I actually walk away with two sets of thinking. Let me give you another example. Think of someone who has two or three languages. They know how to read, they know how to write, and they know how to speak them fairly comfortably, fairly fluently. Then, first question, how many languages do they have? 4, 5? Because it's the interpretation in between the conversation, right? It's the interpretation. Am I thinking in Polish? Am I thinking in a language of Ukraine or Cantonese or Spanish or a very unique dialect? The thinking comes from the culture. The thinking comes from the socialization. So the meaning that is being put forth, is a little bit more complicated. Isn't that really what we talk about when we talk about the spark? It's that intangible. It's that, wow, I didn't realize that was possible. I know, you thought I was going to talk about the spark in your life where you could get the juice and you get the golden nugget. No, I'm talking about those intangible processes that when you put 1 and 1 together, it might equal 7. Because of the possibilities that it opens up for us. It's not a pure 1 and 1 equals 2 scenario. It's, I didn't realize this would have happened if I applied myself. I didn't know that these opportunities were open until I got involved. I didn't know I'd meet such a wonderful person and spend 25 years with them, because I certainly wasn't searching, and I know Miriam was not searching either. So you take that spark. That's what I really wanted to get over tonight. The spark is the intangible, and it's the knowledge you have and the willingness to step outside what you're comfortable with and look at it from a totally different perspective. Think back for a moment. Think back for a moment. The time something happened to you in your life, good or bad, by the way, we don't discriminate here. And when it happened, did it catch you offside? Blindsided you? Now, go back and think, what were the steps? What was the sequence? Could you have improved the pleasure, decreased the pain? What would you have had to do, and when, and how much? And it becomes a game. It's like negotiations. The fun starts when you know the opposition is playing a particular card or a particular theme. Don't you listen to music a few times? You've heard it before. You've got that emotional stimulation from it. How do you get back there? Well, in music case, you play the music. In life, on the other hand, we have to really engage ourselves. We have to really think a moment, because we're so fast forward, right? We're thinking next thing, next thing, next thing. Stop, slow down, whoa. Pull those horses back. Take some time out. It's like a good pause in the theater, right? It catches you, holds you in anticipation, 2-3 seconds. It's when we talk at Toastmasters and the individual uses theater in order to present their story. That's the spark. That's what then gets you to go back, as with members of NASA who, in a documentary, shared the inspiration they got from watching Star Trek. And then going into science and seeing that the imaginary application was actually being worked on. And I'm not just talking about the flip phone, I'm talking about all the technology that is held in your hand today, that is on your smart TV, that is in your fridge. And that's what I mean by the spark. Take a moment to appreciate that the baseline that we are now enjoying, and our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren in many cases, because I'm up there, is because someone else decided to do some exploring. Someone else decided to cut down the woods, clear a path. And if we don't go back ourselves and remember what we did, that gave us that drive, that gave us that fortitude, then we're missing the whole point. It's not just the labor, it's how we labored, what we discovered about ourselves. And when we do fall, and some of you know, the last 4 or 5 months, I've had some bruises. I was fortunate enough to learn, plan, act, and now get back to what I enjoy. Of course, we all have certain obligations. They won't stop. They will if you lose your spark. They will if you don't go and seek out what it is that you are naturally drawn to. I've hardly scratched the scratch of some of this stuff here. Activities, relationships. What is holding you back? Is it temporary? Is it momentary? Is it a perception? Can you feel it? There's a saying, bring the fear to ignite the spark. Bring the fear, absorb the fear, embrace the fear to ignite the spark. You may have heard the expression, use the pain. I think we all are very much aware of those phrases. The challenge, the opportunity is, do we take a moment to reflect and rebuild that castle? And this time on solid ground, or at least on more solid ground, based on our knowledge, our newfound discovery. Like science, you know that there are cures today for diseases and physical disabilities that literally 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, did not exist. Can we use the same approach to our own lives? Will we give ourselves a chance to do that? Or are we so hooked on, gotta fix this, gotta keep moving forward, that we forget it's the draft, right? In drag racing, Formula One racing, that allows that second car to move eloquently in our slipstream. I gotta tell you guys, we're doing some great stuff on the site, ronaldmallen.com. I'm actually working, because of the contract I have with this school, there's a gentleman that's doing some audio work. I will have my Managing Change in 60-second audio files up and running. The first set, by the way, it's going to be a series. It's going to be like a sequel. It's going to be on healthy intake. Because I'll tell you right now, even at my age, which I know I keep talking about that, and I always say to people, age is not important. But when you have rheumatoid arthritis, it is. Especially when your doctor says you can't eat greens, and I'm like, didn't you see Popeye? Are you kidding me? We're going to have a series, I think it's made up of 11 or 12 elements of intake of food that it's not about a cleansing, cleaning thing. It's about living food. I still love my pizza and anchovies on Friday. A little beer as well, a little wine, nothing wrong. It's that food helps you to energize during the course of the day, allows your mind to think clearly, allows your body to respond when you need it to. You're just that much more capable. Then we talk about a series of perspectives. You've heard my live chats. We're going to go over and take some of those topics, and literally within 60 seconds, you can take these on the road with you. 60 seconds, 170 odd words. We're going to give you a quick perspective. I'd love to get your feedback. I'm going to build it so that you can add your comments, because your comments are going to be future Managing Change in 60-second perspectives that you'll see on the site. We have a few right now, but they're a little woogity, but we'll address that. We've got the newsletter going out shortly. By all means, your feedback. The newsletter, by the way, is going to be broken out into you, the id, the individual, because that's where all our thinking starts. Family dynamics, that's where it's cultivated and generated. Of course, business. Why? Because whether you're running your own business, whether you're working for somebody, or you anywhere in between, philanthropic, non-profit, volunteer, it's still a form of business. And I'll show you some unique perspectives there. And of course then, life's perspectives. When you get to a stage, not just an age, but a stage in life, you look back and you think, or you have a perspective, and you can share that with people. And that's really the juice that we're going to be driving there. Of course, we have our coaching, business consulting with our alignment optimization for the corporate community, and our keynoting. You'll also see some posts, by the way, with my association with Toastmasters. I'm doing some great stuff with a military group that allows civilians. I'm a civilian. I've never been in the military. And I see the discipline needed for both, whether you're in a corporate self-employment or with a military environment. Those skills that we learn, they can transcend and be exchanged in both communities. So once again, this is Ronald Allen, managing change through effective communications. You know where to find me. Have a great evening.